Friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Ashley Ariana. I actually wasn't anticipating on going live today. I was going to do a pre-recorded video, but after hearing Kyle Shanahan's call that he did with the media today, I felt like it was better just to go live and bring you guys these updates in real time and kind of discuss with you because breaking news, Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason both are going on IR, season-ending IR. The 49ers season is completely over. We kind of anticipated the 49ers season was completely over. They were either going to have to win out or the Seahawks and Cardinals were both going to have to lose multiple games, including games to the Rams, which was just not, a probability. And the 49ers wouldn't have to win all except for the Lions game. Those were kind of the only two scenarios where it felt like the 49ers could have gotten into the playoffs. Now, with Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason both going down, I think that is even less of a possibility. The 49ers, they need to shut it down. They need to start looking at next year, rebuilding for next year. They need to look at next year's draft. If they do lose to the Bears, which I don't think is actually that far-fetched, the Bears just fired their head coach. Caleb Williams has actually looked really good. Even if you say that maybe last week when he at that end game situation was definitely a little bit foggy, but a lot of people are putting that on the head coach. But what happens is a lot of these bad teams, the week after they fire their head coach, they kind of band together and they'll actually have one good week where they win. There's kind of like a phenomenon of when you fire your head coach that next week your team actually performs really great, outdoes itself, then they kind of trail back to, who they really are. But so if the 49ers lose to the Bears, I mean, they're going to have a top 10 draft pick and they need a top 10 draft pick. What they have been doing with their, first round picks has not been good enough. If you look back to the 2022 draft and the 2023 draft, it is very disappointing. I mean, disappointing to the fact that like there are two players, one being Brock Purdy, who was the last pick in the draft, and one being Jair Brown, who should not be a starter, are pretty much the only players from those drafts who are now participating in the 49ers. Or on the 49ers. So this year's draft class has looked really promising, but they're going to need to have that again this upcoming offseason. And they're going to have a lot of time to plan because, like I said, they're not going to make the playoffs. I want to say what's up to Daniel and what's up to Rick Diaz. Was definitely a terrible game. And I really appreciate you guys being in the comments for me. I'm going to get into the injury update. This is going to be a little bit different than my normal stream. I just, I felt like this was important enough that I wanted to bring it to you guys right away. So Kyle Shanahan today spoke after the game. The 49ers got back to the Bay Area around 5 a.m. today. They left right after the game. Kevin Givens has a torn pec and he is going on IR. So Kevin Givens will be out for the remainder of the season. Christian McCaffrey, he had a PCL knee injury. It shouldn't need surgery, according to Kyle Shanahan, but the injury takes about 6 weeks to heal. So they are putting him on season-ending IR. I actually think this is a blessing in disguise for the 49ers and because they, extended him and for Christian McCaffrey. If it would have been an Achilles injury, that would have been, a year plus that you have to rehab. The 49ers, have guaranteed money towards Christian McCaffrey, and that would have been a really long road to recovery. Luckily, this was a knee injury. Now, there is some debate. Some people are saying if they weren't overusing Christian McCaffrey and he wasn't, out there as much, trying to not utilize his shins as much because, like I said, he is working through that bilateral Achilles tendonitis still, and potentially he was utilizing his body, when certain areas of your body hurt, you're going to make up for it and you're going to put more pressure on ligaments and bones that you normally wouldn't. So some people are saying that they feel like that injury happened because Christian McCaffrey has gotten far too many touches since returning. And other people are saying it's just a fluke injury. It's football. That's going to happen. Either way, I think it's a blessing in disguise. I don't think that Christian McCaffrey should have been out there getting the workload that he was getting. And now with this being a season ender, not only can he rehab his knee, but this is less time that he's going to be on those Achilles. He's going to have the whole offseason that he'll be able to rehab not only that knee, but really make sure that his shins and his Achilles are doing good. He can, rest them, let them recover, then start rehabbing, then start training them again, really have a full offseason, which is something he did not have coming into this season. As we know, Chris McCaffrey was struggling with this injury all the way since last year in week 17. So this has been something he's, dealt with, not the knee injury, but the Achilles injury has been something he's been dealing with and did not let properly recover. His dad actually went on a radio show today and said, oh no, he'll, if he can play, he's going to play, even if the 49ers are out of it. And I was thinking, oh dear, no, like please do not put Christian McCaffrey out there with 2 hurt Achilles and a hurt knee. Luckily, Kyle Shanahan said it's going to be season-ending IR, which, like I said, not lucky, but I am glad that they're leaning on just resting him and shelving him for the season. He has guaranteed money. There's no reason to get him more injured now. If anything, I think he shouldn't have been playing as much as he was playing so soon. The shocker, because we didn't hear this coming out of the game, he did finish the game. The shocker takeaway from the phone call was Jordan Mason. Phenomenal running back. Literally top 5 running back in the NFL, even though he was shelved for the last 3 weeks when Christian McCaffrey came back. While he was playing, he was number 2 in rushing in the NFL, only behind Derrick Henry. This is a incredible workhorse, a physical, fast, tough downhill runner. And unfortunately, I feel like that Kyle Shanahan, never was super excited to get him out on the field. It felt like any opportunity to sit him was taken, which makes no sense with what a great player he was. Unfortunately, Jordan Mason's season is over. He is going on season-ending IR with a high ankle injury. He let Kyle Shanahan know on the plane ride back last night that his ankle started swelling up. They did some MRIs on it. It is not just an ankle injury, but a high ankle. So Jordan Mason is going to be shut down for the remainder of the season. For the running backs, because you're probably thinking, okay, well, shit, what are they going to do? Isaac Rendo will obviously now be running back number 1, Kyle said. And then Patrick Taylor, he was a running back that was on the 49ers practice squad. He was momentarily cut, and then they brought him back to the practice squad. He'll be elevated, according to Kyle Shanahan. And then they're probably also going to go out there and get another running back, since Isaac Rendo is not an every down running back. He's not a downhill runner. He specializes as kind of bouncing out to the sidelines and then, kind of getting fat. He's fast, so he can get deep yardage that way, but he's not very physical when it comes to being able to break tackles and stuff, which is something Chris McCaffrey, when healthy, can do, and something that Jordan Mason was also doing. That's not Garendo's skill set. It'll be interesting to see how Patrick Taylor does. Kyle Shanahan has been able to make, undrafted running backs that are, from the practice squad. He's been able to make them look good in the past. Now, ever since he's gotten Chris McCaffrey, I feel like he's gotten really lazy. With both McCaffrey and Mason on IR, potentially you'll see some more creativity from Kyle Shanahan. I don't know who they're going to go get. If you guys have ideas of who that will be, let me know. I'll be doing a show tomorrow with Tom Jensen, and I'll definitely bring some ideas for you. I just found out now that Jordan Mason is going on IR, so I haven't really looked around the league to see who they could pick up, but they're definitely going to grab someone off a different practice squad around the league. And then, like I said, bring up Patrick Taylor. They like to have at least 3 running backs, so I don't think they'll just keep it with 2. Moving on from the running backs and from the guys who are out for the remainder of the season, those were the game injuries. But Nick Bosa, obviously not a game injury because he didn't even play or travel with the team. Kyle said that they're going to evaluate him throughout the week. They're not sure if he's going to play. With Christian McCaffrey going out, with how horrendous this season is, I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Bosa does not play another game in the 2024 season. That's pretty, I will say in previous weeks, I said if Nick Bosa was going to play after his hip and oblique double side injury that he had, I thought it was going to be this Bears game. I knew he wasn't going to travel to Buffalo. That's a lot of inflammation that can go, because that's a really long cross-country flight. Nick Bosa has talked about how he doesn't like to play on turf fields, and he doesn't like extra inflammation from flights in his body. So I had already assumed that Nick Bosa wasn't going to play in Buffalo before he was ruled out. And I did say if he was going to come back, I thought maybe this Bears game would be a game. Something of note is they are playing the Rams Thursday right after the Bears game. So that might be too quick of a turnaround for Nick Bosa. If Nick Bosa does not return by the Rams game, I don't know if he's participating again this year. Like I said, he had a hip and oblique injury on one side. He pushed himself to play and then ended up injuring the other hip and oblique. So I think for him at this point, he thinks I pushed myself. This defense sucks. I'm not, the only one they're hanging on. Basically, if they don't have Nick Bosa for the D line and a healthy Fred Warner, this defense sucks this year. And I think with them, going for that top 10 draft pick, if they don't end up winning, I think that they might just shelf Nick Bosa and make sure he's healthy for next season. That might be what Kyle Shanahan looks at. Same thing for Trent Williams. Kyle said that his ankle is not responding well. They have anticipated that his ankle, the swelling would go down and they'd be able to wrap it up. He wanted to play in the Bills game, but the swelling has not gone down. It's actually gotten worse. If you remember, this injury has now held him out for multiple games. And originally he didn't think he was going to miss a single game. Unlike Nick Bosa, who said, I'm shutting it down, at least for that game. Trent has tried to push himself every week so far in practice. And then by the time the game comes, his ankle is just so swollen that he's not able to go. Kyle said it's gotten worse and they don't really know why. They've gotten extra imaging on it. But right now the swelling is not going down in Trent's ankle. If it does go down, Trent has said, unlike Bosa, Trent has said he is eager to play. He wants to get back out there. So it's up in the air. They're going to evaluate him throughout this week to see if he plays against the Bears at home on Sunday, which is, obviously if the 49ers want to go to the playoffs, it is a must win, which all these games has felt like must wins, but this is if you lose another game, you're literally mathematically out of it. There's no more even trying. So that's the update with Trent Williams physically. Unfortunately, there's a lot more going on with Trent Williams. This season is so, I don't know, the football gods. I know Christian McCaffrey was on the Madden cover and people say there's a Madden curse. I don't know what it is, but my prayers obviously went out to Charvarius Ward, who lost his 1-year-old daughter. He played his first game against the Bills. I thought, all things considered, with him not playing for over a month, that he played okay. The defense in general kind of got ate up, so he didn't play great. It'll be interesting to see how he plays against the Bears for Ward. But we found out today, Charvarius Ward is not the only player on this team that has lost a child. Trent Williams, his wife, actually lost twins. One of them was lost before the twins were even born. And then last week she had a stillbirth with the one twin that was left. So stillbirth means the baby was born with, he was born, passed away. He was dead already. His heartbeat was not beating. Trent Williams was there in the hospital to say goodbye. Kyle Shanahan choked up a little bit when he was letting people know that Trent Williams was there. And then on Friday, so last Friday before the game happened, Trent Williams and his wife and family cremated their son that was stillborn. So my heart goes out for Trent Williams. My heart goes out for Charvarius Ward. Those are things that, are obviously not football related, and they're just huge tragedies. Charvarius Ward took almost a month off to go be with his family and his partner in Dallas, but now he's back. Trent Williams, Kyle said, did not want to take any time off. He has been in the building. He has felt a lot of support from his teammates and people within the building, and he wants to get back to playing football as soon as he is healthy, injury-wise. So that's, personal, but I think important to let you guys know what's going on with Trent and where his mindset is at. He does want to be with the team, and he has been going in every single day since that news came out. Like I said, it came out today, but it actually happened last week, and then Friday was the day that they cremated their son. This is going to be a huge tonal shift, but I want to move off of Trent Williams. Like I said, my prayers go out to honestly everyone. Love your family, kiss your family. We just had Thanksgiving. If anyone is in your life that you feel like you miss or you want to reach out to them. Tell them you love them. Tell them how much you mean to them. I am consistently very, very thankful for the people that I'm closest to. Moving on from Trent Williams, Demetrius Flanagan-Foles, he was out this week with a knee injury. He will be day to day with that knee injury. So they're hopeful that maybe he'll be able to participate. They could definitely use him. I don't know why Devondre Campbell is still in the game. He has looked so horrendous. He had maybe one okay game a few weeks ago, but all season he's been pretty amateur. He's definitely past his prime. He had a couple good years in Green Bay like 6 years ago and has been bad ever since. I would maybe give Flanagan-Foles, who is mostly a special teamer but can fill in as linebacker, I would maybe give him a go instead of Devondre Campbell if he can go with that knee. Aaron Banks and Jordan Elliott both were out with a concussion, and they're both still in the concussion protocol. So it's not sure if they're, going to be able to go against the Bears on Sunday. They have certain levels that they have to clear where they have to basically have no pain. They have to be able to recite certain information. They have to be able to work out on their own. They have to be able to work out high speed. Then they go into, non-contact football practice. Then they can participate in a full football practice. Then they're evaluated by an independent doctor, so not a team doctor, all before they can kind of go. Kyle did not clarify at which step of the protocol. I think it's 5 steps. He didn't clarify which step they were, but they suffered this injury the week before last and then were out this game. Don't know if they'll be able to practice against the Bears. It'll be something I'll keep you guys clued into throughout the week. The next practice will be on Wednesday. So, if they're healing up pretty well, maybe they'll get evaluated on Wednesday and they'll practice on Thursday. In that case, maybe they'll play. Although Ben Barch, who filled in for Aaron Banks on that offensive line, was actually one of the highest players, only behind Dominic Pooney, graded by PFF. So Ben Barch looked great on that offensive line. Obviously, the offensive line in general struggled, but compared to Aaron Banks, Ben Barch's numbers looked really good. Kyle Shanahan was asked about Ben Barch today, said that he looked really promising. That's really good news because Aaron Banks is going to be up for a contract. And although Aaron Banks isn't been the worst part of the offensive line, he's definitely not worth 30 million or however much the offensive tackles make. So if Ben Barch can fill in for him going into next year, that's good to know. Obviously, they need to draft offensive linemen as well. But promising to see Ben Barch and Dominic Pooney, who bounced back. He had a bad game against Green Bay after playing really well all season. He's, one of the best rookie players that they drafted this year. But Dominic Pooney had a, bounce back game against the Bills, played great. They actually were running to the right a lot, which if you've been a fan of the 49ers consistently, they usually run left because they're running behind Trent Williams. But Pooney has helped out so much on that offensive line. Now, in general, the offensive line and everyone was struggling to get their footing in that snow. So I'm not trying to say it was a great offensive line game, but PFF individually ranks people, and Ben Barch and Dominic Pooney were 2 of the highest rated players from the game, along with like Juwan Jennings and stuff. Moving on from Aaron Banks and Jordan Elliott, Deommodore Lenoir, who was out this week against the Bills with a knee injury. Kyle Shanahan said he is expected to practice on Wednesday. So he'll be back at practice on Wednesday. That's great. They obviously paid Demo. Demo's been an excellent corner for them. They got Charvarius Ward back. Renardo Green was out there. He made some good plays. Renardo Green, a rookie. He's looked promising. He made some plays. He also gave up some plays. I don't know how much of that is, him kind of slipping on the snow or just him. He's also a little handsy. He was handsy in training camp. I saw that when I went to a couple of the practices, but obviously having Demo out there is going to be a huge help. So hopefully he'll be back against the Bears I feel like Kyle thinks that he will be since he's going to be at practice on Wednesday. So that's good that Demos wasn't anything serious. By the way, I don't know if I ever updated you because it was a knee injury, but it was like a deep bone bruise injury. It was more intense than a normal bone bruise, but it wasn't like a, MCL. It wasn't anything that was broken or strained. It was just like a really intense hit that happened on his knee. Then Hafunga. They're opening Hafunga's practice window from IR. So he'll have 21 days, 3 weeks of practice. So that's great for Hafunga. He has that wrist injury. Obviously, he was coming back from the ACL, but he had a wrist injury that put him on IR. Jennifer Lee Chan asked, and Kyle Shanahan clarified that he will be playing with some sort of cast or device on his wrist to kind of keep his wrist in place. If you guys remember, Jimmy Ward a couple of years ago played with a cast on his wrist. It can definitely limit your play, but right now, Jair Brown has looked horrible. So I definitely support getting Jair Brown the hell off the field and having Hafunga in. I still don't think that they're going to keep Hafunga after this year just because I think he might be too expensive. Now, with injuries, maybe he'll be cheaper. But at least for the remainder of this year, get Jair Brown off the field. He had a good rookie year, but this year he's looked awful since the start of the season. No offense to Jair Brown, but I'm happy they're opening Hafunga's window. Now, that doesn't mean that he's guaranteed to play against the Bears. It just means he's going to practice, but he has the possibility. Then Dre Greenlaw, he will continue practicing. He's not completely elevated from IR, but he's on his second week of availability. Last week, they asked, okay, will Dre Greenlaw play against the Bears? And Kyle said the only issue is with that short week, the Rams game coming on that Thursday. They don't want to elevate Dre Greenlaw for his very first game and then not have him be able to have a full week to recover after that. So I'm actually looking at that Rams game. I bet they'll open him or elevate him off of IR to play against the Rams. And then he'll have a longer, he'll play his first game, and then he'll have a long week to recover before he gets back in the flow of the season. And then the rest of the games are all Sunday games. So he won't have to play on any short weeks for the rest of the season. That's if they don't completely shut him down. I know there's definitely been people on Twitter and stuff like that who have just said, don't elevate Hafunga, don't elevate Greenlaw, shut them all down, keep them for next year. The thing with Greenlaw is he's already an older veteran player. I actually think he might do him some good to play some football. So he's not taking, a full 2 years off by the time he, practices or plays next year. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him contract wise and next year, but he might participate this week against the Bears. But I'm thinking just by the way that Kyle has talked about it, that they're actually looking to elevate him for the Rams game. Although maybe now that they're really desperate, maybe they will elevate him for the Bears game, right? Like a lot of things that Kyle has said in the past are kind of assuming that they weren't in this like do or die, you must freaking win situation with Fred Warner playing with that broken bone in his ankle and how bad Devondre Campbell played last week. Maybe take back everything I just said, and maybe Dre Greenlaw will be elevated a lot sooner because maybe Kyle's feeling the pressure. And who knows, maybe the 40. Do you think that Jed York and the Yorks like that the 49ers have been embarrassed? I mean, they lost against the Packers 38-10, and then they lose 35-10. That's 25 points or more in a row, 2 weeks in a row. If they lose to the Bears, the team that just fired their head coach, I don't know. I feel like tides are starting to turn. Like for a long time, and I'm going to read this right now. People have said, oh, Kyle's job is safe. Kyle's job is safe. But I think if you have embarrassing loss after embarrassing loss, things start to get scary. So like I said, some of these players, I'm like, oh, maybe they want to save them for next year. But at the same time, maybe they start to panic and they start bringing these guys up, even if they're not fully ready. I hope that doesn't happen, but I'm putting out there that it is a possibility. When your job security, Kyle has said before, after watching his dad get fired, that he thinks job security and self-preservation is the most important thing that he's learned in the NFL. By the way, Kyle literally said that on record. This was years ago, but said self-preservation is the most important thing that he's learned as a head coach, which is a crazy thing to admit on the record. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Greenlaw and Hafunga, but both of them at least are going to be practicing on Wednesday. For people who don't know, Tuesday is a league wide day off. So they'll probably be getting rehab and stuff like that, but they won't actually be participating. Also, someone did ask, is Brock Purdy and his elbow slash shoulder doing okay? Kyle said that he's completely healthy. Obviously, he's still, going to be careful with it and warming it up and stuff, but he didn't even go in today for his normal rehab. And he's a full go for Wednesday's practice. So that's good news on Brock Purdy. Speaking of Kyle Shanahan and job security, this blows my mind, but Adam Schefter came out today and said, and this is a direct quote, I have gotten zero indication from the Yorks that the 49ers are looking to move off of John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan. So completely not apparently gonna happen. There's been a lot of debates. Should they move on from Kyle Shanahan? Should they let Kyle Shanahan rebuild or retool next year? Is he on the hot seat? I think when your team gets absolutely obliterated in embarrassing fashion, like this isn't, and I feel like Kyle Shanahan is gonna make and tell Jed York and tell the Yorks, all the way starting in preseason, they had to cancel their joint practice because of injuries. And I think he's going to try to write this off as an injury-riddled season. But I say no. Penalties, not scoring in the red zone, your defense not being able to stop the run, your offense consistently not able to score even 20 points. Last 2 games in a row, you scored 10 points. Game before that, I think they scored 17. Like, your offense looks stale. Chris Collinsworth, the announcer last night, was basically making fun of the 49ers for how easy it was to score on them and how elementary, he called it high school, their offense looked. I would be embarrassed if I was the owners, and I would definitely at least put some fire under, Kyle Shanahan and say, okay, because I've heard the argument, he's done really well so far. He's allowed to have a down year. No, really well is questionable because I think with the talent, he should have won a Super Bowl. But I get it. He's gone far in the playoffs with this roster. But now this is an aging roster. They're going to now, in my opinion, I don't think they need to retool. I think they need to completely rebuild. And Kyle Shanahan has ultimate power in the 49ers organization. Now, we don't know. Maybe this offseason will come up and Jed York says, hey, I don't want to fire you, but you need to bring someone in. You need to have someone who you answer to, someone who can help make decisions with John Lynch for, what players they bring in free agency, who they draft. Kyle doesn't get final say. That you need to have someone who helps you with your fourth down decision making, someone who makes sure that they know the rules of the game, because those are all things that Kyle struggles with. Maybe that will happen, but I don't know. Apparently, the Yorks feel really laxed with Kyle, and that makes me frustrated as a 49ers fan, because when you have bad ownership, what are you going to do? You can say fire the head coach, but if the owners suck, if they're just so buddy with Kyle Shanahan, Jed York is so happy to finally be accepted by a coach that he's not willing to put any pressure on Kyle. That quote and segment from Adam Schefter really bothered me today. Now, Adam Schefter's been wrong before. Maybe that's not true, or maybe it's just with the rest of the season. They don't want to say that yet. It's possible. I've heard people saying that Trent Williams over in the Jaguars, there's no pressure on him. Adam Schefter said something similar. Well, the last time someone said that about Trent Williams, he got fired. So maybe it's the same thing with Kyle Shanahan. Maybe there is some pressure on him, but at least outwardly, the message that the Yorks are trying to tell the media is that there's no pressure on Kyle, and there's zero indication, that the 49ers are looking to move on. So that is frustrating. What's even more frustrating is you would think, okay, then you have to at least fire Nick Sorensen, and you have to fire the special teams coordinator, and you need to bring in people, right? Like, if you're going to keep Kyle, you have to really reboot everyone around him. If you look back to the Eagles, they went to the Super Bowl. They had a down year. They didn't fire Nick Sirianni, but they fired their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams. They brought in guys to work with Nick Sirianni and brought in Vic Fangio. They totally rebuilt their coaching staff aside from Nick Sirianni and took away a ton of Nick Sirianni's power. Maybe they'll do something similar with Kyle Shanahan. But Kyle was asked, have you been, disappointed? Are you satisfied with Nick Sorensen, the defensive coordinator's performance? This is a direct quote from Kyle Shanahan today. I am very satisfied with Nick. I'm not satisfied with the results and how it's going right now. Some of the mistakes, but I don't think it's like it's not on the scheme. It's not a scheme issue, it's a fundamentals issue. That's on me. Good for Kyle saying that's on him. It is on him. That's on the coaching. That's on the players. That's on player execution, not scheme. So there, Kyle is throwing the players under the bus, not Nick Sorensen. And he goes on to say, the results these last 2 weeks have not changed my opinion on Nick. What? Steve Wilkes is somewhere screaming. Steve Wilkes had a top 5 defense. He gave up a total of 17 points per game throughout the whole entire year. That was his average, 17 points a game. Nick Sorensen, right now, in the fourth quarter, defense EPA per play in the fourth quarter, the 49ers, this was 2 games ago, by the way, so it's definitely gone downhill because this is pre-Packers game and pre-Bills game. Think about how bad those last 2 games were. Pre that, the 49ers were 28th in the league. Right now, they're probably 32. They're probably last in the league because they've literally played way worse the last 2 games, but this is the most recent EPA. 49ers have been progressively worse in the fourth quarter. Their defense cannot stop the run. They got ran all over. They cannot stop quarterbacks. Like I said, I think the offense, I don't agree that it's all on the defense. The offense needs to freaking score points. They've looked amateur. Both sides have committed terrible penalties. Jake Moody can't make a kick. I think it's a whole team failure. But to say that Nick Sorensen and that defense has not been disappointing is a joke. And that's Kyle Shanahan, once again, putting it on his players. He's so, oh, not my precious scheme. It's not the scheme, because that's why they hired Nick Sorensen, is because Nick Sorensen knew the scheme. That's why they didn't want Vic Fangio, who's now with the Eagles, and the Eagles are freaking killing it this year. But they didn't want Vic Fangio because he doesn't run the style of defense that Kyle Shanahan likes and that the defensive line coach likes, Chris Kocurek. So they hired Nick Sorensen, who's fucking sucks. Literally, the announcer, same thing. They were like, without Nick Bosa or something, they need to be blitzing. Like, they're not. Josh Allen can do anything. The Bills can run the ball on him. They can pass the ball on him. There was a play where Josh Allen throws it to Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper throws it backwards to Josh Allen, and then Josh Allen runs in for a touchdown. And like the defense, that frustrated the shit out of me. And if I'm Jed York and I just went out to the media and made it known that Kyle Shanahan, everything's fine with him, and then Kyle goes and says, "Oh, my coordinators are fine." Okay, we have to blame someone. If it's not your fault, Kyle, and it's not your defense, then and now you're blaming your play. Now it's the players. Well, who's in charge of the players? You. I don't know. That shit pisses me off. I really didn't like hearing that. I felt like that was really disappointing to hear from Kyle Shanahan after all of this, that, he hasn't lost any faith and feels totally confident in Nick Sorensen. Once again, I think Kyle's job should be in question, but if they don't fire Kyle, they better fire Brian Schneider, that special teams coach, and they better look to move on from Nick Sorensen. They didn't seem confident when they got him, and I do not think that they turn around this team if he is, if he and Kyle are both stay with the team, then what the fuck is, what's the point? Sorry to swear, but that, the team's they're gonna miss the playoffs next year too then. If you, what's that? The definition of insanity is just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's how I feel with the 49ers and Kyle right now. So that was made me furious to hear. And then to end it off on some positives, Pro Bowl voting came out. I know this. I mean, when I read this, I was like, who gives a shit, dude? This team sucks. But I want to give you some positives because I get some criticism that I'm really negative. If you watched my streams last year when the 49ers were doing good, I was praising them all year round. I just try to be honest. When they're playing bad or Kyle Shanahan's coaching bad, I want to give you honest coverage. When they're playing good, I'm going to tell you they're playing good. But anyways, because this stream was mostly negative, I want to talk about the Pro Bowl voting. George Kittle, he's number 1 on all tight ends, voted for the Pro Bowl. Kyle Juszczyk is number 1 against fullbacks. Now that's partially because he's the best fullback, but partially because there's like 2 fullbacks in the entire league right now. But I believe that George Kittle has been a better tight end than Travis Kelce. Normally he's second behind Travis Kelce, but Kittle's been great this year. By the way, you see Kittle talked after the game, and he talked about people who are, if they start losing and players start turning on each other or on the coaching staff. George Kittle said that he had no idea why he didn't have more than 6 targets, that he was getting open. He feels like he is being underutilized, that's all stuff that fans agree with. But for George Kittle to say that himself, Kittle's normally out there defending Kyle, defending Brock. Kittle was out there like, I have no idea what's wrong. They need to get me the freaking ball, which I agree. They need to get Kittle the freaking ball, but he caught the first pass of the game and then wasn't targeted again until the 4th quarter. That's bullshit. Anyways, and then Nick Bosa was voted for the Pro Bowl. He's 4th amongst all defensive linemen. And then Fred Warner is 3rd amongst all linebackers. Obviously, Fred Warner, he was playing like the defensive player of the year. But then after breaking that bone in his ankle, he's had quite the, not a good second half of the year. So it doesn't surprise me that he's not up there at the very top like he normally is. He's really struggled with missed tackles and just tackling in general. Some people say that's because he's not playing with Dre Greenlaw. I really think it's important to notice that the beginning of this year, even without Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner was on fire. It was mostly after he got injured that his play really went off. And if you think about it, he's sprinting, he's planting his feet to then jump and tackle, all that on that ankle. That's got to be hard. Okay, so that's it for all the updates that I had. I wrote it. I tore this box apart because I couldn't find my notepad, and then I realized my notepad was in my car because I went yesterday and went for a walk with my dad, and then I brought my notebook with me because I wasn't sure if I'd be home by the time the game started. But anyways, I see I have a starred super chat. Thank you guys so much. I'll go over more of the comments in a second, but thank you for this. I'll read it again, this time in English. Blame belongs to John Lynch for extending the drama with Ayuk, only to end up caving to his demands. I agree that you could tell something was off with this team going to this offseason when, Christian McCaffrey held out to get paid. Trent Williams held out to get paid. Then they toyed with both Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk, only to end up giving him more than he wanted. Honestly, if they would have paid him in the beginning of the season, he said, because at that time, the other wide receivers that were getting paid were getting 24 to 26 million. He said he would have taken that. That's like $10 million. Not 10, but it's like $6 million less than what he ended up getting signed for. So yeah, I think it's a huge issue that the 49ers organization consistently does this with players where they drag out the offseason drama and then they caved all their demands. My only thing is I wouldn't put that all on John Lynch. A lot of that contract negotiation, John Lynch has even talked before and said that's really Parag Marathe who does a lot of that. I think he needs to get the hell out of there and go. I think he also runs the leagues, not football, but soccer team in England that the Yorks own. I think Parag Marathe, he's supposed to be a wizard, a cap wizard. I think his time is done with the 49ers. I understand blaming John Lynch because he is the GM. Same thing going back to those drafts that I said that they fucked up on. That ultimately lands on John Lynch's head. But to be honest, I think John Lynch is just a mouthpiece for the organization. He's someone who comes from the media. He likes to talk. He'll go on the radio. He'll go on, KMBR, the local TV shows. He'll do a lot of the speaking that most head coaches do. But Kyle Shanahan has gone out and said he doesn't like talking to the media. He doesn't like talking, really struggles in that area. So John Lynch is mostly that guy. And I feel like he answers to Kyle Shanahan. Even with the thing eventually caving, apparently, and this is something that's on the record, Kyle Shanahan and Brandon Ayuk both say this is true. John Lynch and the other 49ers front office guys, they had a deal in place to trade Ayuk to Pittsburgh. So John Lynch wasn't trying to cave. They were in the midst of trading him. Kyle Shanahan starts calling and he's like, "Don't trade him, don't trade him." They don't even answer. They're in the middle of trading Ayuk to Pittsburgh. Kyle Shanahan has to run up because they're not taking his phone call, interrupts them and says, Brandon Ayuk, he's at practice now. This was in the morning towards the end of training camp. He said he's at practice now. He's wants to get a deal done. Can you please wait till the end of practice and talk to Brandon Ayuk? And that's when they got the deal done. When basically Kyle put his arm out for Ayuk and told the organization that he really needed him. And so I think that I think caving's on Kyle. Kyle caved. 49ers and John Lynch were trying to trade him, and Kyle goes in, and Kyle has more say. Like, Kyle didn't want a strong GM. Kyle has ultimate power. Kyle is the actual GM. John Lynch is just like the Queen of England, how she doesn't really do anything. That's John Lynch. He's just like the face. But the person who's actually making decisions is Kyle Shanahan. And that's what got his dad fired from Denver. Is his dad was, the head coach, but he was also the GM and in charge of the whole thing, had too much power. That's my main criticism with Kyle. I think Kyle can be a good offensive coordinator. I think he just has too much power in this organization. And if they're not going to fire Kyle, I think they need to give John Lynch actual saying power over Kyle. I think they need to bring in more people. So I get this criticism. If it was John Lynch making the decision, I think that blame should go to him. My only thing is, with what we know from the 49ers organization, I don't necessarily think this is Kyle's fault. John Lynch's fault. Okay. And then Israel says, "Keep grinding. Good job, Ashley. Thank you so much. You actually are the one that tagged me in this news on Twitter. And I told you I was going to be making a video, but I thought going live would be more effective. But I was in the call, so I heard it when it happened. But I always appreciate you people who sometimes when I do breaking news, it's because I don't even see it first, but he'll see it and tag me in it. But this one I heard because I was on the call, which I'm really grateful to be a part of. Best wishes to the Seahawks head coach and his wife who just went into labor. Is it bad labor, like scary, or is it just like they're planning on having a baby? My best wishes either way go to them. If it's, congratulations, they're about to have a baby, then I'm so happy for them. And if anything is scary going on, like with what was happening with Trent, I'm crossing my fingers that baby ends up being okay. I know Brad Graham, who runs the SF 49ers fan page, if you guys have seen his stuff, he was saying that the thing that was going on with Trent Williams' wife, where they ended up having the baby premature, they were actually able to keep his baby alive. So sometimes, you think things are going to go wrong, but the hospital's technology and medicine today is really good. So sometimes it can help. Sometimes it's not enough. Either way, if it's congratulations, then hell yeah. What does that make them I don't think it's a Capricorn yet. What would they be? I'm not super good at astrology. I know I'm a Capricorn. My friends are really into this. I know my sister's a Gemini. My dad just had his birthday. Is he a Daddy, are you a Scorpio? Maybe. I don't know. But whoever's born, if the baby is born and they're healthy and they're moving and they're crying, congratulations to the Seahawks head coach. Sagittarius. No, Sagittarius that already happened. I know that because my other friend. I have the only signs that I know is my friend Lacey is a Sag. My friend Bean is a Scorpio. Maybe you're right. Oh my God, you are right because Bean is first. Sorry. I have in November, I have my best friend Lacey's birthday. Then it's my dad's birthday. Then it's then it's Lacey's birthday. Is it Bean, Lacey? I don't know. I'm saying too many words. My bad. You guys don't care about horoscopes, and I'm not an expert on them. Some girls are really into that. I'm not, but I know people that are. Either way, if someone's having a baby, congratulations to them. I hope everything goes right. We're in Sag season. Cool. Well, Sagittarius are awesome. I hope that the Seahawks head coach has a great baby. I also hope that this is random because you would think that the Seahawks, you want them to do bad. But right now, I hope they do good. I think we need the Seahawks to, let me read this. I think I have it saved. What is the scenario where the 49ers can make the playoffs? Okay, so either A, they win out, which once again, absolutely will not happen, Or B, if the 49ers beat the Bears, beat the Rams, beat the Dolphins, lose to the Lions, beat the Cardinals. Do you see how that's just not going to happen? If that happens and the Seahawks beat the Ram or lose to the Rams. Oh yeah. See, this can you guys see this? This is a tweet. I'll post it on my community tab. There's some scenarios that if like 4 different teams have different records and the 49ers can win all except for the Lions game, then they can get in. I don't think that's going to happen. Either way, I wanted this to be a shorter video. Like I said, I was going to do an independent one, but with all the news and how crazy it was, I thought I would just go live and chat to you guys. I want to say, hey, Mr. Corey, who's in here. We're both Capricorns. What's up? Mr. Corey, I want to say thank you, Gerald, in here. Thank you for all my super chats. Why, Ashley, why in the world would you want this team to make the playoff? Yeah, I don't want them to make the playoffs. You're right. I agree. I think they should be shooting for a top 10 draft pick, which they get if they lose to the Bears. And I think it's possible they're going to lose the Bears. I want to say thank you, Miguel. He's in here. I appreciate it. Thank you to Papa J, who says Bill Belichick head coach demote Kyle to special teams. I don't see them doing that, but wouldn't it be interesting if Bill Belichick was the head coach and Kyle was offensive coordinator? Because a lot of this stuff, like the undisciplined, the penalties, the not having energy, like not getting up for the game, that the little things is what Bill Belichick really, honed in on with the Patriots. And he didn't treat, like Kyle gives Kyle Juszczyk special treatment, Deebo Samuel special treatment. Freaking Tom Brady wasn't getting special treatment from Bill Belichick. So I could really, I actually think some of the 49ers problems, they would be helped out if Bill Belichick came back here. Now, I don't think he's going to do that. And apparently Kyle Shanahan's not on the hot seat, but maybe they're just saying that because they don't want to like tip anyone off. If I'm Jed York, I'm at least exploring the possibility, especially after I hear Kyle say that he has no problem with Nick Sorensen. It's like, okay, well, if it's not the defense's fault, then I'm fucking blaming you. And I think it's everyone's fault. But if that's how I feel, if I'm Jed York, if I'm giving Kyle an excuse and then he goes off and says, oh, it's not their fault. It's like, well, someone's to blame. We can't say that there's nothing wrong because you're getting embarrassed out there. Sorry for screaming. I want to say what's up to my dad, Mustafa. I said hi to Rick Diaz earlier. We got David, Ryder, Collinsworth is usually pretty respectful towards the Niners since they beat him twice for a ring, but that's right. Oh, maybe he was a little salty about that. He brought up the 28-3 loss that Kyle Shanahan said, and I don't know. He didn't feel like he was being disrespectful. He was like, this offense is like high school vanilla right now. Like it's predictable. No wonder they're not able to score in the red zone. That's kind of what he was saying. Fire Moody. I agree. Fucking Jake Moody cannot come back. Deebo Samuel cannot come back. They extended his contract last year, so he's going to be on the books. I don't care. Trade Deebo. No offense. And Deebo used to be my favorite player. So if you guys have been here for a long time, that's hard for me to say. Way past his prime, I was still holding out hope for Deebo. I'm over it now. Deebo needs to be purely a kick returner. That's where he is. He sucks as a wide receiver. He can go to special teams. How funny is that? He yelled at the special teams player. Now he's a special teams player. That's his karma. Ashley, Dr. York has to step in and fire Kyle. Jed doesn't have a spine to fire him. Yeah, maybe his parents will come in. I know this offseason, Jed York's father showed up to practice. So someone says Trent Taylor over Ronnie Bell. I think they both fucking suck. Ronnie Bell's not even on the team anymore. Kind of weird that they let him go like last week instead of after week 5 when he was committing penalty after penalty and sucked every time he went on the play. But yeah, I hope that someone said that I'm the only good thing in their life because of how bad the 49ers are right now. Don't say that. I'm glad that I can be a source of happiness. I know there's been times where I've been feeling really down, and 49ers content and the game in general has really helped me, so I appreciate it. But if you have any other things in your life that make you smile, make sure you let them know that you're grateful for them. I think that's a lesson that can come out of some of the updates. And then aside from that, I'll be going live with Sports Illustrated's Tom Jensen tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to both breaking down the game and breaking down the rest of the season with him. Plus, if we get any more, updates before then, we'll be doing that tomorrow. And then I'll be going live on Wednesday, and that'll be really interesting because that'll be the first practice. Maybe Dr. York will be at practice. Like I said, this offseason, when stuff was really going wrong with the contracts and stuff, Dr. York shows up. So sometimes when things are going bad and they feel like, oh, Jed York is letting shit slide, the parents will actually show up. Even though Jed York technically owns the team, I feel like when they step in, that's when they really mean business. Now, this fault, you've been embarrassed so many times. I don't know why they should have been down there a couple weeks ago. But anyways, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and give me a like, give me a subscribe. In the comments after this, let me know what you think about Christian McCaffrey and, like I said, that surprise Jordan Mason going on IR. Do you think that's a good decision? What about Drake Greenlaw and Hufanga? Are you guys team sit them for the rest of the season, make them healthy for 2025? Or do you think that if they're healthy enough to play, they need to be activated? I know it's football people aren't like this, but I'm kind of team sit them. Don't play the rookies, lose. Like, it's at this point, it's better. Like, is it fucked up to say it's better to tank and get a higher draft pick than it is to win, maybe 1-2 more games, and then you have like a draft pick and like it's like number 15, so you can't get the best player, but you're not going to get the worst player. Like, the season's over. I don't know. I know they're going to try their hearts out against the Bears game. Maybe I'm fickle. I know that I'm emotional. If they beat the Bears, maybe I'll end up wanting them to try to get in the playoffs, but I think it's pretty ridiculous at this point. I think it's pretty, even if I wanted it with their running backs out, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen at all. Time to pack it up. Pearsall, Ward, Trent were cursed this season. Yeah, horrible things going on with all of them. Also, Ricky Pearsall, I mean, they drafted him in the first round, and he's had I think there was a stat that he's had 32 yards in the last 5 games that he's been back. Obviously, he got shot, which is horrible. But since he's been back, they never target him. Why did you draft this guy in the first round? Cooper DeJean, the guy that everyone thought they were going to draft at their pick for number 1, he's fucking killing it for the Eagles right now. The safety, and by the way, with how bad Jair Brown is, the 49ers could use that, and they're not using Pearsall. So that, when going back to the guy who talked about the GM, I don't know if that's on Kyle, if that's on John Lynch, but that looks like a bad draft pick. And I'm not trying to be rude to Ricky. I know he got shot, but he's not a first round wide receiver. And there's a safety that they could have gotten in Cooper, who's playing his ass off for the Eagles right now. So that blame needs to go somewhere. I know Kyle doesn't like to blame anyone and wants to put it all on the players, but they're not the one constructing the team, Kyle. That's either you or it's Lynch. So, Jed York, what are you doing? Anyways, TD my text. Read my text. My dad said, read my text. Where's your text? Okay, let's end this BS. Bring back Eddie D. Those were the years that counted. My dad, obviously, old school 49ers fan. You see where I get it. Anyways, thank you guys so much. Ricky Pearsall looking like Juwan Jennings when Kyle didn't want to use him. True. Maybe I'm being hard on Ricky. When he's been targeted, he's done okay, but he's just not getting any fucking targets. So that's what makes this shit frustrating, because if you're not going to use him, then you should have used the safety, because they fucking need a safety right now. But you're right. Maybe they'll start targeting Ricky and he'll look like a better pick next year. Not trying to put this all on him. A lot of it is Kyle sucking as an offensive coordinator right now, as a head coach right now. But anyways, I said I was going to end it, so I'm going to end it. Let you guys go. Have your dinner, whatever you're going to have. I'm going to try to go to a workout class because I have not been freaking working out. My dad just said, read my text again. I read it, Daddy. I love you. Anyways, he's probably behind. Hope you guys have a great night. Like and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys joining me. Bye, guys. Have a good one. And I'll see you tomorrow. Make sure to subscribe for my show with Tom. Bye. Thank you.